Welcome back to Adventurous Publications. If it's your first time here, welcome in general. I am your host and intrepid lead adventurer. My name is Zach Pieper, but you can just call me Zach. That's fine. Recently, I did a video as a rebuttal to Lauren Southern on another subject, and I realized I really enjoyed doing that, and I realized I think there's some value both as a matter of channel growth strategy by piggybacking off of other bigger creators' content, and also some actual social and commentary value in adding to what they have to say or commenting on what they have to say, especially when it is something as important as what Matt Walsh talked about in his recent video about Jack Daniels joining the woke cult. But before we get into any of that, I would like to say Happy Easter. Christ is risen. Share the good news, brothers and sisters. Amen. On that note, and segueing back to the subject at hand, Christ said, "I came not to bring peace, but a sword." And sure enough, he lived that out in real time once upon a time, when he whipped a bunch of people for sinning in the temple. As Christians, we must remember that sometimes the time for direct aggressive action, not necessarily violence, but direct aggressive action, is warranted. And that is what Matt Walsh has called for in his recent video. He had some very good ideas. There were just a few places where I think he didn't say a few things that merit saying. So I would like to piggyback off of Matt's comments and add to them, and then close with a message of solidarity. So let's get into it.
The HRC is just one of many well-funded left-wing advocacy groups whose sole purpose on this earth is to use these extortion techniques to extract ideological concessions from corporate America. There are many well-organized, well-funded, well-oiled machines that the left has at their disposal to do exactly this.
This is because the Democrat infrastructure, the leftist progressive infrastructure, has been created using a Marxist communist doctrine. They are collectivist in nature. They march to a unified goal. They march to a single drum. They have, at the head of their movement, key ideals and figures that they all follow. The right has no such thing. The right is largely made up of individualists or small groups of collectivists with very narrow ideas and beliefs who all generally agree to vote Republican, but we can never usually agree on a unified cultural strategy. And that is why we've been getting our asses handed to us ever since Operation Paperclip allowed Marxists to infiltrate our government in the 50s. It's very important that we listen to what Matt is saying in this video, and it's very important that we take his advice. An army of individualists will never beat a hive mind army in any endeavor for any purpose if the individualists cannot unite behind a common goal and act as one.
Wokeness has the desired effect. It normalizes radical left-wing ideology. It commercializes it, which is the same thing as normalizing it, and it gradually makes it seem less radical and less left-wing to most people, even many on the right, who ostensibly...
The reason I wanted to piggyback off this point from Matt is because this has been happening in real time for over 20 years now. Actually, that's just been my observation within my lifetime as a man of almost 30. Looking at the historical context, the normalization campaign has been well underway since the 60s. The hippie movement normalized drugs to a certain extent, free love. The feminist movement normalized promiscuity. It normalized women in the workplace. And one by one, cultural norms that were previously ironclad and universally accepted were called into question, then accepted, then deviance was accepted, then a complete abolition of the norm was accepted, then the new normal was challenged, and on and on and on it went until we arrived at a place where there's no unity within the culture, which is what the left wanted, because united we stand, divided we fall. The culture has been divided by a concerted effort to attack and impugn cultural norms and traditions. This has been done by normalizing things like drug use, promiscuity, single-parent households. This has been done by normalizing things like mental illness, the glorification of mental illness, which is something I know quite a bit about, let me tell you. This has been done by normalizing deviant behavior. This has been done by normalizing things that are truly not good for society, but the left has made a concerted and deliberate effort, a ruthless, unceasing effort to normalize everything, including all the worst things, like pedophilia. Now, finally, this last bit that I'm going to play is a 4-minute long bit, but I think it is especially important to let Matt make his point in its entirety, to say his entire spiel. He says it articulately, he says it well, and at the end of the roughly 4-minute span here, I'm going to add a little bit, and then we will wrap up.
The first is we have to realize and accept that we are right now in the position of insurgents. The left won the culture a long time ago. That's already done. So we are culturally, in effect, guerrilla fighters stationed in a camp out in the forest. We're not going to win a pitched battle against the entire system all at once. We're not going to take on all of corporate America and bring it to its knees. It's already on its knees, but for a different reason and not for us. So here's what we can do. Take a page from the left's old playbook, which is really just the playbook of cultural insurgency. And what we do is we pick one target, one victim. You know, every brand is woke. Every brand is kicking us in the shins and spitting in our faces. They all hate us. So we can throw up our hands and do nothing, which is surrender. Or we can try to boycott them all at the same time, which is futile and doomed to failure. Or we can pick one, just one, and target it with a ruthless boycott campaign. Okay, you just pick one. And then you're going to have conservatives say, well, what about this one? What about that one? I mean, why are you boycotting this one? That, and that. They're also woke too. Well, because we're trying to do something here. It's called a strategy. Can you be strategic in your thinking for once in your life? Target one. Refuse to buy their products. Drag the company's name through the mud. Make them anathema to the tens of millions of conservatives who still live in this country and whose financial support these companies still need in order to survive. Be smart and strategic in the targets. Start with companies who have a high percentage of red state conservative customers, so not Nike, and companies that would be relatively easy to boycott, so not Disney, and companies who likely have a high percentage of employees who would be on our side and are going to give pressure from the inside, so probably not, something like Hershey's. But you also need one that's big enough to send a message. So actually, Jack Daniels might be the perfect candidate for this. Whoever it is, you make an example out of someone, okay? You claim a scalp. Force them to come crawling back to us and apologize, just like the corporations have been doing for the left for decades. They never, ever do that for us. Okay, they never denounce anything on our behalf. They never apologize to us. It never happens. Because we never really try to force them to. But we can. It can be done. It is achievable. We can exert influence on the culture in this way. We can stand up for ourselves and show that if you insult and disrespect us, we will punch back. We can move the needle. We can extract concessions of our own. The strategy does work. I know it works because the left has been doing it forever. Also, I know it works because we've done it. That's what I did with Vanderbilt. Pick a hospital in a state where I know we have influence and cultural power, single them out, focus on them, direct attention and scrutiny at them specifically, even though Vanderbilt was far from the only hospital mutilating kids, but make them the special project, and they collapsed under the pressure. They shut down their mutilation program. Then the whole thing was made illegal statewide. So it works. And we can scale this up to target brands and corporations. We just need focus and strategic intelligence to do it. And we need a little bit of ruthlessness. That's what it takes to win. To win piece by piece, one skirmish at a time. We can do it, or we can do nothing and keep whining impotently about problems we don't have the stomach or attention span to address. It's up to us to decide.
So, to build on what he said, first of all, he's absolutely right. Everything he just said there. Jack Daniels and Anheuser-Busch should be our primary targets. If you feel like you can't self-educate and do enough to, know how to do a boycott, you're wrong. It's very easy to simply look up a brand, Google them, go to their Wikipedia page, see all their products, see all their corollary companies, and simply not buy anything from them. Anheuser-Busch and Jack Daniels might have a lot of products, but they are far from a monopoly. You can brew your own alcohol, you can switch to a hard apple cider, you can choose to drink tequila, whatever you want to do. You can abstain from alcohol entirely for a while. It's not going to kill you. So, after we pick a target, and I'm proposing that Jack Daniels and Anheuser-Busch are the primary targets for this round of boycotts. After we pick a target, I disagree with Matt respectfully that we should stop at getting an apology. We should try to bankrupt them. We should keep the boycott going until they have to do massive layoffs, declare bankruptcy, possibly cease to exist as a company. Why? The left has gone that far with several companies, or close to that far with several companies, and we need to send a really, really strong message. There needs to be a message that we are not playing games anymore, that we are done taking the abuse. An apology is not sufficient for what these brands are complicit in. Remember, the left is normalizing the butchery of kids, and these brands are now complicit in it. Let me repeat that. Children are having their genitals cut off, inverted, having pieces of their body, their legs, their arms, their backs, cut off, grafted into Frankensteinian mockeries of male anatomy and sewn to their crotches. They're being given chemicals that were used to castrate felons not that long ago, that are still in use for that purpose. They are being given cross-sex hormones, which have been proven in multiple studies to be cancerous to humans. Cross-sex hormones in large doses is cancerous to men and women. These are all things we know, and the left is advocating for these things. And now Anheuser-Busch and Jack Daniels are complicit in an ideology that is doing that to kids. They don't deserve to exist. They're evil. They are complicit in evil. That makes them evil. Christ said, I come to bring you not peace, but a sword. It's time that we as Christians stand up for what we believe in and start protecting kids from this nonsense. So, once the companies cease to exist, another big-time cultural leader, whether it's Matt Walsh, whether it's Crowder, whether it's another mainline political pundit, needs to designate the next target and will claim a few more scalps. It's not going to take that many. Because once these companies that have a big right-leaning or right-wing customer base realize that we are uniting against this insanity, they will all drop the woke garbage like a hot potato. They will run the numbers, they will look at their spreadsheets, and they will say, yeah, like 70 to 80% of our income comes from red states. We should really drop this now and distance ourselves as far away from it. They might even swing all the way the other way and openly endorse Trump and pro-America values. Sure, it'll be right-wing virtue signaling, but it will be powerful virtue signaling. That is the goal. The goal is to get companies not only to apologize for going woke, but to be so terrified of what we have done to them, to be so terrified of further boycott, that they swing all the way over to our side. And if we can accomplish that with just a few companies, the dominoes will start to fall. Once people feel emboldened, once our side becomes galvanized behind a few significant cultural wins, the pendulum will really start speeding up. It's already begun to swing the other way in a lot of areas. We just need a few more wins, and the momentum's really going to get going. I'd like to thank Matt Walsh and the Daily Wire for everything they're doing. I was on the Crowder side of the whole Daily Wire versus Crowder argument, but I still recognize they are a very valuable key player in this fight. And I'd like to thank Matt Walsh specifically, because I think he is one of the most valuable cultural warriors that we have. I'm going to sign off now. My name is Zach Pieper. I'm the lead adventurer here at Adventurous Publications. If you want to support me, you know all the things to do on this platform. I'm also over on Rumble. You can go to the channels section of this channel and see that I have a bunch of other channels I'm affiliated with that I directly run. You can go support them. They're also backed up on Rumble. You can buy my book. You can join us over on the Twitch stream and financially support me there. And very soon you'll be able to support me financially on Rumble. I'm going to be streaming there in the near future. And if you do nothing else today, do not buy anything from Anheuser-Busch or Jack Daniels. You see it in your friend's hand, slap it out of their hand. You go to your local bar and they're serving that garbage, you ask them why they're complicit in child murder. Welcome to the adventure.